Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're talking about the newest upcoming faction for Warhammer 40,000. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so Games Workshop has officially revealed the newest upcoming faction for Warhammer 40,000, and we know it to be Emperor's Children. More likely than not, we're going to be getting a brand new codex for the Emperor's Children, a new Chaos faction, officially flushed out in 2025. So with the official announcement and reveal of the redacted codex upcoming, Games Workshop created some very basic level Emperor's Children rules in the form of a new index that essentially separated out the Emperor's Children from your typical Chaos Space Marines. Part of the reason they did this is because the Chaos Codex was going to be coming out, and rather than just leaving out the couple of data sheets that they had for the Emperor's Children and making them completely unusable until the Codex arrived, they split them off and gave you some options to run an exclusively Emperor's Children army with some special rules using your current models to create an Emperor's Children off-branch of Chaos Space Marines until the new Codex arrives. So let's take a look at what's currently in the Emperor's Children index, and then also what's likely to be coming for the range and rules with the upcoming Emperor's Children Codex. So currently we only have a couple of data sheets and a single little page of rules for the Emperor's Children, so let's take a look at those first. So we have essentially the Emperor's Children army rules, the Chosen of Slaanesh. When mustering your army, you can select Emperor's Children as your army faction. If you do, your army must include Lucius the Eternal, and this model must be your warlord. So Lucius the Eternal is currently the only epic hero for the Emperor's Children. Lucius the Eternal and Noise Marine units from your army gain the Heretic Astartes faction keyword, so that allows you to essentially use the detachments from the Chaos Space Marine Codex. You can include Heretic Astartes units in your army, excluding Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch units, even though they do not have the Emperor's Children faction keyword. So basically you can't take any of the dedicated god special units, but you're able to use generic units. For the purpose of the Dark Pack's ability, see right, your army's faction is still considered to be Heretic Astartes. So that's going to allow you to use the detachments from the Chaos Space Marine Codex and all of the rules that go along with them. In the Select Detachment Rules step, you can select a detachment from the Codex Chaos Space Marines. If you select the Packbound Zealots detachment, each time you select a keyword for the Heretic Astartes unit to gain as a result of the Mark of Chaos rule, you must select Slaanesh. So essentially all this is for one specific detachment. Each of those units has to gain the Slaanesh keyword. You can't choose any of the other marks of chaos, including Khorne, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. And then each time you select a keyword from the Demon Prince and Demon Prince with Wings models to gain as a result of the Demonic Allegiance rule, you must select Slaanesh. So essentially when you take a Demon Prince, you give them a mark of one of the Chaos Gods and they gain special rules according to which mark you give them. In this case, they have to select Slaanesh and gain the relevant keyword and datasheet abilities. And then for the Dark Packs, the Chaos faction special rules, this army ability is described in full in the Rules of Chaos Codex Space Marines. So you have full access to the Chaos Army rule and the Dark Packs abilities. And then we have next our two data sheets. So first we have Lucius the Eternal, the epic hero for the Emperor's Children. And just taking a look at his weapons, he has the Doom Siren, a torrent weapon. So essentially a flamethrower, a little bit stronger than like a heavy flamer. And then we also have his melee weapons, the Duelist Sword and Lash of Torment. They have precision, which means they're good for sniping out characters. 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. And then we see under core abilities, he has Fights First and Leader. He has access to Dark Packs. And then he has the Duelist Pride. While this model is leading a unit, models in the unit have the Fights First ability. So not only does he have Fights First on his own, or if his attached bodyguard unit is destroyed, but also that bodyguard unit gains the Fights First ability. So very, very strong ability. And then you also have the Armor of the Shrieking Souls. Each time this model is destroyed by an attack made by an enemy unit, that unit must make a leadership test. If the test is passed, the enemy unit suffers a D3 mortal wounds. If the test is failed, the enemy unit suffers a D6 mortal wounds. If mortal wounds inflicted in this way destroy that enemy unit, set this model back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed and not within engagement range of any enemy models, with a D3 wounds remaining. So essentially if you kill Lucius, he has an ability to potentially kill your unit and then come back to life. So pretty cool datasheet. I do expect him to remain similar in the upcoming codex, as there's nothing like crazy overpowered or anything like that here, but he's definitely a powerful character. And then because he does have the leader keyword, he's able to join Legionaries and Noise Marines. And then he also has the Emperor's Children special ability. If this model is your warlord, Noise Marine units from your army have the battle line keyword. So basically if you take Lucius as your warlord, which you have to if you include him in your army, or if you're playing Emperor's Children at all, your Noise Marines are going to be battle line, which means instead of taking a maximum of 3 units, you can take 6, and then they gain these special abilities affiliated with battle line keyword. And then the second and final datasheet we have is the actual Noise Marines themselves. Typical Space Marine datasheet OC1, which I would expect to potentially go up to OC2 in a Emperor's Children Codex. And then they have the ability Riotous Cacophony. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, select one unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks. Unit must take a battle shock test. And then for war gear abilities, they have the Chaos Icon. Each time this unit takes a leadership test, you can reroll that test. So again, nothing crazy overpowered right here. And then for ranged weapons, you have the Blastmaster, which has 2 different profiles, a 48-inch range, 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 9, -2, 3 damage. And then the varied frequency, 36-inch range, 6 shots, hitting on 3s, strength 6, -1, 1 damage. And this is essentially your heavy weapon for the squad, and you can take 1 per unit. We also have the Doom Siren, which can be given to the champion of the squad. It has a 12-inch range, d6 shots. It is a torrent weapon, so it auto hits, strength 6, -1, 1 damage. So same stats as what Lucius is armed with, and again, this is 1 per unit on the squad leader. And then we have the Sonic Blaster. This is essentially your standard equipment for the squad. It is Assault, 24-inch range, 3 shots, hitting on 3s, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. And then you have your Accursed Weapon, Astartes Chainsword, and Power Fist. The Chainsword being your standard Astartes Chainsword, the Accursed Weapon with 4 attacks at strength 5, -2, 1 damage, or the Power Fist with 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 8, -2, 2 damage. So overall, the noise mirroring profile, not bad, but definitely missing an OC if this is going to be your main squads for an Emperor's Children army. So now that we've taken a look at the army rules, we've taken a look at the very limited 2 data sheets available to the Emperor's Children, let's take a look at the most recent addition to the Chaos Space Marines and what we can expect going forward for the range as they do get their own codex.
Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video.
So jumping over to the Warhammer web store, we see the armies of Chaos. We have Chaos Demons, Chaos Knights, Chaos Space Marines. And then we had the first edition of the individual codexes, the Death Guard, which essentially became their own army around like the beginning of 8th edition. And then towards the end of 8th edition, we had the Thousand Sons getting their own codex. And then at the end of 9th edition, we had the World Eaters getting their own codex. And then, of course, we're expecting towards the end of 10th edition, the Emperor's Children to get their own codex as well. So let's take a look at the most recent edition, the World Eaters. So we can see that currently the World Eaters have their index cards. We would expect that to be replaced for the Emperor's Children with their own codex. And then we have a World Eaters Combat Patrol, which we would expect something like that for the Emperor's Children as well. And then we have Angron, the Demon Primarch of Khorne. We would expect essentially a Fulgrim Demon Primarch of the Emperor's Children, as each of the other Chaos factions has gotten their own Primarch. And then we have Karn the Betrayer, who is essentially like the equivalence of an epic hero, which we would expect for a new Lucius model to be coming out for the Emperor's Children. And then we have 4 various World Eaters specific kits, a couple of them with some optional build assemblies. So first we have the World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut or Lord Invocatus, one kit that can build either one. One is an epic hero, the other build is just a generic Lord. So essentially we would expect something like that for the Emperor's Children as well. Not sure if it would be like a mounted cavalry model or something different, but we would expect something like that for the Emperor's Children. We then have the 8-bound, which can alternatively be built as the Exalted 8-bound. So various build options and then different data sheets inside the codex. And this is essentially like your elite damage dealing option. So we would expect something like that coming for the Emperor's Children as well. Could potentially be a Terminator unit, could potentially just be a heavy infantry unit, but something cool and specialized specific to the Emperor's Children with multiple build options. We then essentially have the World Eaters specific Chaos Cultists, the Jackals. So again, I would expect something like that for the Emperor's Children. Essentially a specialized cultist variant with some cool new models. Your base level troops that are just going to go out there, hold objectives, but can do a little damage if necessary. And then finally we have the Khorne Berserkers. And again, this is the equivalent of the Emperor's Children Noise Marines. Currently, the Noise Marines only have an upgrade frame available. It is like a resin upgrade frame. It allows you to turn your regular Chaos Space Marines or Legionaries into Noise Marines. So we would expect that that upgrade frame will be replaced and we'll get a brand new plastic kit for the Noise Marines. And in this case, we would expect the profiles to be somewhat similar to what they currently are with the Emperor's Children Noise Marine datasheet. And then on top of that, we have some of the generic datasheets or plastic model kits available to the World Eaters and the other Chaos-specific factions. And again, we would expect some overlap for the Emperor's Children as well. So let's take a look at the Primarch for Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy and what we could potentially expect for the Emperor's Children. So here is Fulgrim Transfigured. Now this is a resin kit for Forgeworld and this is for Horus Heresy. we see he's priced at $275. All of the plastic Primarch models for Warhammer 40k for the Chaos Legions are priced at $170, so that would mean roughly a $100 price drop for a plastic kit of Fulgrim. This model is absolutely amazing and only came out in the last year. It's not going to be exactly the same as the plastic kit for 40k, but we would expect something along these lines. Essentially a snake-bodied Fulgrim model with wings, the fly ability, and then some pretty awesome datasheet abilities to make him worthy of Primarch status. So we're not sure exactly what the other datasheets are going to be, but I would expect at least one more character being added into the range, one more elite option being added into the range, and then over time probably some expansion of it. We would expect minimal changes to the rules, more likely than not a new faction ability that's specific to the Emperor's Children, like we saw with the other Chaos factions. And then also likely 4 detachments with unique abilities for each detachment based on how you build the army, and then also some unique enhancements for each as well. So I personally have been a fan of the Emperor's Children for a long time. I used to have an Emperor's Children army like a decade ago and got rid of them, hoping that at some point in time they would get a range refresh. But here we are like 10 years later and still haven't gotten it. But now we can finally see the hope is on the horizon. So I'm not sure exactly what I want to see for Fulgrim when we do get the Primarch for the Emperor's Children, or what other model kits or datasheets we would likely get. But I do expect them to have quite a bit of fights first, probably some less powerful weapons, a little bit more fragile of an army, but higher movement characteristics, fights first abilities, and a high volume of attacks, as that leans in on the Emperor's Children like speed and finesse. I personally am going to be leaning in very heavy on the Emperor's Children and super excited for their arrival. I absolutely love the lore of Slaanesh and Fulgrim, all the backstories and everything that goes along with them, the idea of the Noise Marines, Lucius the Eternal, and some of the other dynamics to be represented in game terms. So let me know if you have any ideas as to what you think is going to be coming for the Emperor's Children, if you're excited to see them come to the tabletop in their own final form. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products, and make sure to tell them that Warhammer Man sent you. So that is it for our Emperor's Children new faction coming to Warhammer 40k and what we can potentially expect. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I cannot contain my excitement, and I'm out of here.